Hey, I'm Angie. Welcome to my podcast, Chaotic Harmony. Just recently, my husband and I were living our best life, doing what we do best, watching YouTube videos. In this one particular, it was a young Newfoundland couple living on a deserted island. And each week, this couple downloads an hour or so long video showcasing what they did for the week to their 100-year-old cabin and surrounding land. Most of what they do requires hard work, their dogs, Ronnie and Bluebell, and absolutely no hygiene is necessary whatsoever. As I watched the main person, the husband of course, chop random trees down with a saw that he was swinging around recklessly, I said something out loud like, "Oh, I could do that." My husband let out a cute, adorable little giggle as a response. Hey, I most likely could do that. I mean, I really could. If I absolutely had to, all right? But I don't have to, so I'm not going to. Get what I'm saying? Anyway, I took offense to what my husband's adorable little giggle did, so I turned to him and I reminded him that I grew up on a farm, and I had a crazy experience with a bull back in the day. If I could survive that bull, I sure as hell can survive living on an island. Hands down. Easy peasy. My husband didn't skip a beat, which is normal. He always has to respond to something that I say, and decided to tell me a story about him back in the day riding a donkey. Riding a donkey. I don't like to lose, so obviously I had to one-up his story. So I started off with one of my four-wheeling stories. My husband fired back at me with an even crazier four-wheeler story of his own. At this point, we were both laughing our butts off. We could have gone back and forth with our own version of jackass stories from back in the day for like hours. My personal favorite, though, is my husband's. So yes, I will tell because he loves it. He looked at me so matter-of-factly and said, and I'm going to try to do this without laughing, "Riding my bike with the banana seat was probably the first time I was ever molested." What do you mean by probably, dude? Like, what do you mean probably? I know we lived in the 80s, but I mean, I would probably know when I was molested. So, like, what do you mean by probably? Babe, I know you're listening to this. What do you mean by probably? Life is kind of interesting if you really think about it, though. That banana seat went to a place no seat belongs going, unless it's me. And now, many years later, he is a colon cancer survivor. I'm pretty sure that is a huge stretch that I'm making right there, but I tend to do that, and it makes sense to me, and that's all I'm saying. So, I guess this would be a good PSA announcement. Beware of those old banana seats. You might get molested or something. I'm only joking. But this whole interaction with my main squeeze made me realize that this entire time I have been podcasting, I haven't shared some of my favorite memories from my childhood. And now is the time to fix that. So I'd like you to do me a favor. Go pause this, grab yourself a Capri Sun or two, and take a trip down memory lane with me. I want to bring you back to the 80s. I was just a young girl with big dreams, and my listening skills weren't quite up to par. To be fair, that's part about me that really hasn't ever changed, so they really haven't been up to par, but, whatever. I was still young, way young back then. I am not sure of the exact day. However, I know it was a beautiful summer day. A few of my uncles were at the farm, and whatever they were doing looked like a hell of a lot of fun. And I wasn't going to miss out on that. Absolutely not. I had asked a few times if I could help them out doing whatever they were doing, But every single time I asked, the answer was no. Obviously, that was not the answer I wanted or was looking for. So, little Angie tied up her new saddle shoes. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's those little black and white beauties from the 80s. You can just Google them up. They're beautiful. And I sat back in the backyard of the farmhouse, right where I could be seen but not heard. It was as if I were watching a movie from a very good viewpoint, staring out at my uncles and my dad and my grandpa. I sat there very impatiently watching them move the farm equipment and walk around the field. None, and I mean none, of what they were doing seemed like a big deal to where I would be told no. None of it. Why couldn't I help them out? It really didn't take long for my grandma's no to turn into a just go. Just go. It'll be okay. What's the big deal? It looks fun. And that, my friends, has to be the first time I ever experienced an FAFO. Fuck around and find out. To my knowledge, anyways. All I can remember thinking was, if they can't see me, then I was never there. I just want to find out what the hell they're doing and possibly help them. What is the big deal? Great logic, right? I made sure everyone was busy doing something before I stood up and quickly made my way to the edge of the backfield and the yard. There was like just a little drop down that I could be either in the field or in the backyard. I could just go back to my spot and watch them if they caught me. Man, I wish older Angie could yell out to that little Angie and tell her to listen to her grandma. But she didn't and instantly regretted it. It didn't make it too far into the overgrown field. And my favorite shoes, those little saddle shoes, just didn't have a great grip on them. And I happened to slip on a rock and land hard on the ground. Obviously, I'm going to cry. I'm a little girl. I instantly started crying. I was done exploring. Fuck this shit. I'm done. Whatever my uncles were doing was not my business. So I attempted to get up and go back to the yard where I was more safe before I got in trouble. The problem with that is I was stuck. And I mean literally stuck. The overgrown field was so full of old fence posts, rusty barbed wire, and other miscellaneous things. Now, I only found out about that the hard way. When I fell down, a nice sized piece of barbed wire fence went into my upper left leg and traveled its way through the other side. Like I said, I was literally stuck. And on top of that, nobody knew I was there. I was dumb. They couldn't see me. I sat there screaming and screaming, but there were several tractors moving around, so my screams were masked. At one point, I remember thinking, this is it. I'm going to die. I'm going to die right here with a barbed wire fence right through my leg. I'm dead. I'm not sure how long I sat there screaming, but eventually one of my uncles showed up looking like a knight in shining armor. He took one look at my situation and literally ran off, saying he was going to get my other uncle. I was so confused. He literally was like, what? Going and gone. Why couldn't he just help me? Now, I am laying there with a barbed wire fence through my left leg, crying even harder because An adult can't even help me. Within a minute or so, not even sure, but my other uncle came running up to me. My second, or maybe my first knight in shining armor. He told me that I needed to stay still and look at my other uncle. I was afraid to look at my other uncle. He ran off on me, first off. But also, I didn't know what was going to happen next. I was afraid to breathe and afraid to ask what he was going to do. I mean, I had a pretty good idea of what might be happening, considering I couldn't keep that barbed wire fence in my leg forever. I mean, what goes in must eventually come out, right? I knew that. I was old enough to know that. I'm not even sure what happened next because I feel like I blacked out there for a bit. And before I knew it, I was in my uncle's arms and he was running towards his truck. He kept telling me, "You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay." Truth is, now that I am so much older and wiser, might I add, I knew a little bit more about the story. My uncle was actually telling himself that he was going to be okay because he happens to pass out at the sight of blood. Somehow, he managed to cut one side of the barbed wire fence and rip the rest of the wire through the other side of my leg without passing out on me. Kind of heroic, if you ask me, right? I remember sitting in his truck, bawling my eyes out and wanting the pain to go away because holy crap, it felt bad. But did I go to the hospital? Nope. My grandma put some of her Watkins salve on each side of the leg and reminded me that none of that would have happened in the first place if I had just listened. I can't say she's wrong. I can say I did stay out of trouble while I was healing and slowly resumed to my not listening skills afterwards. Obviously, when the coast was clear. But because of this event, I had formed a massive, huge fear of barbed wire fence. Do you blame me, though? So, my next story. My grandpa and father had purchased a four-wheeler for the farm. I will never forget that feeling I had when I got off the school bus and saw that shiny new four-wheeler parked by the milk house. It was almost begging for our attention. My father had told us kids that it was for farm use only, to get the cows in the barn, field work, basically everything we didn't want to use it for. My brother and I didn't gather the cows up for milking all too often prior to this. But when that four-wheeler showed up, you bet your ass we were fighting over who was next in line to gather them, and we fought quite a bit about this situation. Sibling rivalry, I guess you could call it. Either way, we took turns driving the other one around. It wasn't ideal, honestly, but it worked until it didn't. And on the day in question, I was to be the passenger. Like I said, it wasn't ideal. I like to take charge, probably like most people. But my brother, he liked to torture me whenever he drove because he knew that I was afraid of a barbed wire fence. So he would drive real close to that fence to where literally my shirt could probably tug off of it and then I'd fall off. You know what I mean? He was constantly doing this to me. After his shenanigans were somewhat done with, we finally started to round up the cows. The four-wheeler was swerving back and forth as we yelled out to the cows. Slowly but surely, the cows started making their way to the barn. As far as I was concerned, it was just another day. Another day in the life of Angie. We continued on towards the back of the pasture. It was kind of by a little forest area. And that is when we saw our bull. Not the nicest animal that we've had, might I add. He looked more like a beast, if you ask me. Both my brother and I knew not to mess with the bull. We already had our fair share of interactions with these things, and all of them, literally all of them, were not good. What does my brother do when he sees the bull, might you ask? Now, I can't confirm what was going on in his head. I can only assume. So, I assume my brother thought that bull could be outrun by the four-wheeler. I assume that because out of nowhere, the four-wheeler went off the chosen path and went straight to where the bull was hanging out. Immediately, I started yelling at my brother, "Do you want to die?" Might I add, the bull didn't look too pleased in the first place. We were taking his girlfriends away. As you can imagine, the bull saw the four-wheeler as a threat. Duh. Steam started to roll out of his nostrils. He started moving his head from one side to the other. I guess what I'm getting at is the bull was not having it, and I don't blame him. It started to charge towards the four-wheeler at a very good rate of speed. My brother, the idiot, waited just a little bit, then veered off to the opposite direction. Four-wheeler 1, bull 0. I begged my brother to get us out of the pasture completely. Before I could even finish that sentence, the bull began to charge at us again. My brother waited just a little bit longer than the first time because, you know what? Why not? And again, veered off to the opposite direction. Four-wheeler 2, bull 0. The four-wheeler was now located in the middle of the pasture. Nothing but dirt and manure surrounding us. The bull was visibly more angry than when my brother first started this crap. I looked around for any safe exit around me, but I found absolutely none. Next thing I know, the bull was just a little bit closer in proximity to us, and he had started to stomp his hooves into the ground, kicking up dirt. His head was lowered in a more aggressive manner than before, and the steam that came out of his nose was crazy. And I mean crazy. I thought I was having a heart attack. Just throwing that out there. He was making all kinds of noises, like the ones you would hear and see like on a movie scene. The best way to describe what he sounded like was, "You gonna die. Don't fuck with the bull. I'm gonna kill you." That's what he sounded like with all the steam and everything else. Understandably so. And also extremely terrifying. The bull made it known that it was going to charge at us again. It was clear. My brother had finally decided that he was done messing around. Like, all right, Angie, I'm done. Ange, I'm sorry. They didn't call me Angie. They called me Ange. All right, Ange, we're done. No shit, we should have been done in the first fucking place. It should have never happened. We shouldn't be in this predicament. So my brother goes to put his thumb on the gas throttle and nothing. Absolutely nothing. I thought my brother was fucking with me. I thought he was genuinely fucking with me. He's like, oh my God, we ran out of gas. We were completely out of gas in the middle of this pasture with a bull that was going to fucking kill us. I wanted to kill my brother. I wanted to throw him out for bait. Like, you just take him. I'm gone. I'm sorry. I didn't want to do this. My father had always told us to check all the fluids and gas on anything that we used. And we never did. So there we were, in the middle of the pasture, wishing we listened to our father, all while a very upset bull and a long run towards that gate was, oh God. We didn't have much time to think at that point. And as a matter of fact, I'm just going to assume that my brother wasn't thinking at all at this point. I was just the passenger. I'm throwing that out there. I was just the passenger that did not want to die. So I started screaming, I'm going to die. And somehow mid-scream, my brother had jumped off the four-wheeler, ran towards the closest barbed wire fence, and slid under it as fast as he could. It looked so flawless. It looked rehearsed. Like, come on. It looked like it was going to be impossible for me. I was a chubby little girl. Chubby. It was not going to happen. And it's by a freaking barbed wire fence. He yelled out, Ange, right here. Hurry, just run and slide. Yeah, easier said than done, dear bud. There was a 1,500-pound bull, if not more, directly in front of the four-wheeler. And it saw me as his next victim. He didn't care if I was driving or not. It was done. I was his next chew toy. I look over at my brother while he's cheering me on, like, you fucking asshole. And as soon as I turned to look back at the bull, I knew it was now or never. I jumped off that four-wheeler, ran towards my brother, somehow managed to maneuver my chunky butt right under that barbed wire fence, and pissed myself. And if I had any shit in there, I would have probably shit myself. But I didn't. I pissed myself. And no joke, that bull was standing in front of my brother and I with just an electrical fence between us. By the time I got to my feet, he was already charging while I was running. Ah! He looked at us as if he were saying, this ain't over. You fuck with the wrong bull. My brother and I both stood there gasping for air and attempting to gain composure, all while trying to act as if nothing had even happened. You know, we don't want to get caught doing that kind of stuff. And that was the day I instantly became afraid of my brother's decision making, guys. I never rode with him to get cows in again after that. And I chose to live without the fear of a bull attacking me ever again. I was not going to put myself in that situation. Fuck that. F you, my brother. And my last story for the day. My grandparents that owned our family farm couldn't really afford to do much with us grandkids when we were growing up. Now, in their defense, they had a lot of kids, and then their kids had a lot of kids. So there was a lot of us. And everything that they did, they had to be scheduled around their milking times. So whenever we were given the opportunity to go anywhere, we didn't hesitate. I was in my, I want to say early double digits when Grandma told a few of us grandkids that she was taking us to go see the rodeo that was in town. I didn't want to miss out on all of that because how many times were we going to actually be able to do that? Plus, I was going to be able to watch people attempt to ride the one animal I was afraid of even sharing the same zip code with on our farm. I had to go just to see how many dumbasses got hurt. Now, I don't really remember exactly what happened that night at the rodeo, to be completely honest, but I do remember the ride home. I was sitting next to my brother. Yeah, the same asshole that got us hurt, almost killed, you know. He was already trying to convince me that he could do all the tricks the cowboys did at the rodeo. Okay. Yep. Sure, buddy. He was blabbing on and on. I was listening to what he was saying, but not entertaining any of it because of what he's already put me through. He sounded like someone who was either going to get us hurt or worse, in trouble. Yes, I said that correctly. I'd rather get hurt than in trouble when I was younger. Eventually, my brother had stopped plotting out his next shenanigans out loud and just stared out the window the rest of the way home. And honestly, that's more terrifying. come to think of it, actually. Like, yeah, that's what I do now, and it's terrifying having all those little demons in your head while you're staring out the window. The following morning, my brother woke up with a little bit more pep in his step than usual. Now, I had a pretty good idea as to why, because what I heard the night before, but I really wasn't sure I wanted to ask. Our morning went like clockwork. We ate, we all loaded up in my dad's old Ford pickup truck and headed to the farm. Morning milking started, then it came to an end. All chores that needed to be done inside the barn were completed. Adult supervision inside the barn had ceased for the time being. That meant it was perfect time, according to my brother, to make our own rodeo show using the calves that were inside the barn. That was his crazy wild idea the night before, was, I'm gonna ride some calves in the barn while my parents don't know. Yeah. I remember standing in front of the calf pen, staring at these little calves and thinking, as dumb as this idea sounds, and it sounded dumb, it might actually be fun watching my brother get hurt. I was just ready for it. I'll watch you get hurt only because you've done this shit to me so many times. So I'm like, all right, I'm in. My brother ran towards the binder twine our father had piled up in the corner, and I ran towards the main barn door to be on the lookout for adults. The coast was clear, so our little redneck rodeo, I shall call it, started. Because this was my brother's idea, he went first. I really didn't even know if I wanted to go. I just wanted to watch my brother go, I wasn't going to be his guinea pig either way, so yeah, just let him go. I had learned way too many times prior to this the hard way, so yeah, my brother was going. My brother then jumped into the calf pen, wrapped the twine around a calf, and very quickly jumped on the damn thing. To nobody's surprise, that calf was not having it. My brother flew off the damn thing before he even got on it. I couldn't stop laughing at the whole situation because it was like he jumped on it and then it was almost like a trampoline where it was like, fuck you. He just jumped up. My brother took a quick look at the situation and repeated it. He just kept going, trying. This time he got on a little bit more of a ride out of it before he fell to the cement covered in manure. Now, as dumb as it was, it kind of did look like fun. And who wants to be watching someone doing something and laughing and not be a part of it, So I grabbed some binder twine for myself and hopped up on a calf. This little redneck rodeo didn't last very long. The calves were making too much noise, more noise than usual, as they should have, and we were getting more dirtier than usual. We didn't want to have any, adults coming up asking questions like, what happened? Why are you that dirty? Why are you full of shit? Well, we live on a farm, yeah, but they would see that we were unusually full of shit, Our little redneck rodeo stayed between my brother and I for a time being. The following morning, my brother was looking quite annoyed. He had an itch that he just couldn't scratch. Our mother noticed his constant itch of the belly and asked him if he had been near the calves in the barn. Obviously, he answered no, and I was there. The way he answered no, it was a little sus. He made it look way too... He's like, no, why? I don't know what you're talking about. My mother then, responded with, good, because Dad said they had ringworm, and they're getting treated, and that stuff is very contagious and very itchy. My brother and I locked eyes from the other side of the room. I was trying like hell to stay silent, which if you know any part of me, I am hardly ever silent. But I wanted to scream at my brother, you asshole! Every single time you come up with something happens and I get something or whatever. No joke. I started getting that itch that afternoon. And then my brother and I dude, okay, we're itchy now. So what do we do? Do we tell our parents? Do we not tell our parents? She said it's contagious. We got school. We both agreed it would be the best idea to keep it to ourselves. My brother and I started having to wear layers in the summertime just to hide the ringworm that decided to travel to all other parts of our body. We literally looked like meth heads with all the meth. This big secret of ours lasted longer than one would think. We were determined not get in trouble. We did not ride those calves. We knew they had ringworm. Nothing is wrong. That secret lasted a hell of a lot longer than that little redneck rodeo we attempted, so I dare say it was not worth it. And had my mother not noticed the turtleneck my brother was wearing in 80-degree weather, we may still be sitting here today with ringworm. I have to say, I was thankful the secret was out. Being itchy all over is miserable. We would and should have been in trouble for that. But we were both told that the ringworm we were going through was our punishment. We were also advised to use our common sense in the future. Looking back at this, I can confidently tell y'all that common sense was never my strong suit. Yeah. Now, I have so many more stories that I could share with you. And that is because common sense was thrown off my table a long time ago. As much as it sucked growing up for me, I also wouldn't have changed a damn thing about it. I wouldn't have had all these crazy stories to share with you and to laugh at myself at, because I was so dumb. I still think I'm kind of dumb, but man, when I was young, I was dumb. Thank you for tuning in and listening. I hope you had a good laugh with me, or better yet, at me. If you would like to help support my podcast journey, all you got to do is click on the support the show link and go from there. I honestly cannot thank you all enough. With that being said, go out there in this crazy world we live in and embrace the weird and make normal feel boring. Bye.